now.
Oh,
James Harden. You're speaking my language now.
NBA names.
Pokashevsky. That's what
I have no water. This is terribly unfortunate.
Go get some water. We have time. Are we on the right link now or not?
We're on the right link. He'll do it live. I'm going to start over. Maybe some people heard that. Maybe some people didn't. If you're wondering what's going on, we had a little mix up on the links, and now we're all good. Ben Rasa, Eric Lindquist, Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'm doing the show without my Dasani bottle. I may run out of breath, but we're going to power through. Bay Hill, strong field. I was saying just before, Eric, we got some Florida swing reps in last week. Now we're ready to tackle it. I know you love Bay Hill. You got to like this week.
Yeah, I love this golf course. We were just talking a little bit. I mean, there's so many vivid memories you get of this track. Tiger Woods making sliders, that left to right putt you have when the pin's right on 18. He's had memory after memory on this track of being able to pull that off. You get a lot of the big boys in the field. It's a great field. You get one of the best golf courses, I think, on tour. It's always fun when you can remember just these scenarios playing out on things 16, 17, 18. It's a fun finish. And man, it helps to have help, doesn't it? You have good help over there.
Helps to have help. Shout out to Mrs. Jazzraz, even though we're not married. But look at that, bringing me water, hydrating.
It's a good step in the right direction towards that, though.
Certainly doesn't hurt. There we go. All right. We're going to get into the Honda recap. We're going to get into the weather and withdrawals. But also a step in the right direction is Yahoo Fantasy. We've talked about it. They power all our golf content, and for good reason. If you're looking for something new, if you're looking to bolster the bankroll, or if you're looking to play on a site that is doing a little differently, Yahoo Fantasy, go check it out because we have a fantastic offer. 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and play over there. You can claim that at awesemo.com/Yahoo-promo. It's not just getting the 1 month free, though, and you've talked about this. Different pricing, good structures, big time payouts to first. Yahoo is giving you opportunities to make some money.
Yeah, you get an opportunity to get a different salary structure, completely different game. You've talked also about how you get some of the low price guys. You can kind of stars and scrubs it up a little bit more in given spots. But really what it does is it just gives you more exposure to playing the good plays and having an opportunity to bink because you're trying to win top heavy prizes no matter where you're playing at in the DFS industry. So Yahoo, lowest rake. So you're putting less in over the course of the long run. You're getting really nice top prizes on stuff and you get more exposure to a different pool. I don't know what could be better.
Absolutely. A fantastic opportunity. We're going to be talking about them throughout the show. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on Honda. I mean, clearly the lead story has got to be that Daniel Berger really melted. I know it's a high variance course, but he's up 6 strokes. He's only made a couple of bogeys through 3 days. And before I was even paying attention, the lead was gone. And I figured Shane Lowry would track him down, and it was not him. It was Sepp Straka. Any thoughts on that? I mean, it's Florida. This happens. I don't think it's a huge deal for Berger, but it was surprising to me.
So I was in Arizona over the weekend, which was a great opportunity to do a lot of live betting. And I was on a NBA deeper dive that I had on Sunday while the finish was coming down the stretch. And I had 2 +900 and +1100 Shane Lowry tickets that I was sweating. That was painful. Yeah, it didn't feel good. But what I will say is that when you get some of these high variance things, and this will be something, I know we're looking at doing some showdown content for the players. We're talking high variance golf. And what we mean by that is that there are opportunities for top players. A 5-stroke lead is not the same as playing TPC Scottsdale. Now, maybe that's a bad example because there's enough water lurking there in some spots where 5 strokes could go a long ways or not go as far. But when you're playing these Florida golf courses that are just tough and you have water lurking in different spots coming down the stretch of golf tournaments, a lot of weird things can happen when pressure gets put on. And, you know, I would say Shane Lowry had it there, and Sepp Straka, good for him. He's a guy that we've been tracking for a while. Not fun to miss out on that live betting opportunity, but I'm more willing to on Saturday, Sunday, try to do some of that stuff to be able to fill out a card as it's going on, because there's some value to be had if you just look at a 3, 4, 5 stroke lead a little bit differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's a different type of course. Some crazy stuff can happen. Berger melted. It happens. We pick up the pieces. We go on. We go to weather and withdrawals. Bryson, before the tournament, he was 28-1, not ready to go. He's only 90%, which That's, whatever. It's Bryson. That's just what. But then
whatever.
Jason Day has withdrawn, and that was surprising. I thought I was probably going to get into some trouble with him. I like the spot for him. That's a pretty big one. I think that severely impacts guys like Fleetwood and some of the other mid-range. That's all we got. Talk to me about those, and then feel free to go into the weather. Could be windy. Yeah,
it could be windy. I think this is going to be one of the more pronounced tee time draws that I've seen in a little while. I hope you agree with me with that. Looks like going through some of it. Orlando, Florida, that's easy enough. You can find towers. It can be a little closer to Bay Hill if you would like, but looks pretty benign there on Thursday. Friday, looks like it's going to get windy, and it's going to get really windy on Saturday. Looks upwards of 15, 20 miles per hour in that 2 to 5 p.m. window. But on Friday, you're looking at around 12 to 15 miles per hour sustained. Now, for me, something like that is just signaling, giving a bump up to some Thursday afternoon, Friday mornings. I always say this, don't remove guys from Thursday AM, Friday PM, because there's some studs that you're going to want to have some exposure to. But I think there are going to be some 4 or 5, maybe even 6 player tee time draws that I try to put together because, it can get a little bit hairy out there when you get Bermuda greens later in the day in Florida. It's not just the wind, it's also green conditions that can kind of go away pretty quickly throughout the day. Now, these are the best golf courses in the world that they're playing week in, week out on the PGA Tour, so it's less pronounced, but a lot of these dudes are still wearing spikes. You still have some issues that can pop up, especially on these thicker Bermudas where you start getting the cups kind of leaning in different directions. You start getting that anybody who plays golf knows that you kind of track the Bermuda with the sun a little bit, and it can be just a little bit more testy in that afternoon. So Thursday PM, Friday AM, sign me up for a little bit more of that than normal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not overhauling. I say this often, unless it's really, really stark. This is an easier cut to make than most. The weekend looks a little dicey and you can't predict that. So maybe a little bump, but I'll probably try to stack a couple up, have some mixed teams, nothing too special. And it just depends where I fall. If I'm 50-50 on a guy and he's in the right draw, yeah, I'll give a little bump, but not going to do anything crazy. Super chat from Matty Mitch. Appreciate that. We'll get to that right now, and then we'll dive in to Bay Hill. Love Maverick on POA. Do we love him on Bermuda? I mean, not as much. It's clearly not his preferred surface. He's a California kid. He doesn't have as much experience here. His putting splits. He's played API 3 times. He's lost strokes putting in 2 of them. Don't think he can't do it, but it's not the preferred surface. No.
On his last 50 rounds of golf on a Bermuda surface that we have tracked, he is 73rd in terms of strokes gained putting per round. That's -0.1, so pretty negligible, but losing around 2 to 3 strokes per event on Bermuda that he's played in the last 6-7 events that he's played on Bermuda. So definitely not his preferred surface.
Talk to me about Bay Hill. So we see this course every year. We know what we have to get. It seems like there's opportunities to be certainly a lot more aggressive off the tee than at PGA National last week. Is there a skill set that stands out, or are you saying these guys are so good, it's a strong field? The best players are the best players.
It's so interesting because if you go round by round, and there's a number of ways that you can look at past course conditions, whatever your kind of spot is, and it can be really windy in spots. The wind is the major defense of this golf course because you can get some days where it's very easy to hit fairways, and then there's days where it gets blowing and you can run into some problems. You've got some scoreable holes. You have par 5s that wrap around entire lakes. You have a really fun finishing stretch, and you have a really difficult beginning to this golf course. The 1-2, just looking at some of these shots that you're hitting in on 1 and 2 specifically, it is not a lot of golf courses, even in the modern game, they really make it as easy as possible for you getting started. You kind of get into your round, and a lot of the tests come up later. Well, the tests are on the front end and the back end of this golf course. 17 and 18 are no joke out here. That par 3 is difficult. Number 18, we all have seen it a bunch. You get water lurking a little bit right and short of that green, and it loops around in such a unique fashion. I love this golf course. One of my favorites constantly. I would say in terms of skill set, I generally don't worry so much about the driving of the golf ball. You get some really fast greens though here at Bay Hill. And so there is some short game bump that I like to give up a little bit here. A guy like Matthew Fitzpatrick has just had 3 top 10s here. He's one of the guys that I'm going to be featuring in a lot of my lineups. it can be kind of those guys. And then you've also seen bombers like Bryson DeChambeau go out and get W's here. So there's a number of different ways to play this golf course. It's not one size fits all. Makes it a very unique way where if the golf course maybe plays a certain caliber, a certain style, you can definitely get those builds that Ben always talks about where you want to get certain skill types. But for me, I just think it's playing the guys who can play the best.
I don't think you need to do anything too special. Long irons if you've consumed a lot of content, a lot of people are saying that for good reason. There's a lot of long iron approaches here. There's a lot of landing spots that are just basically they force you into those type of plays, no matter what you do off the tee. So if you can handle that, it is a plus, but I'm with you. The multitude of winners we've seen here, you can do it a lot of different ways. It looks like the rough is up. I think it's more important to try to plan how hard it's going to be. We saw Ty Hatton win here. It was absolutely brutal. We've seen much more benign conditions than that, and I think that favors pure scores with the par fives. I think the European grinders have a better chance if it's super, super windy. So when I build some teams, I will plan for like a -8 winner, and then I will plan for like a -20 winner.
Mm-hmm. Mike H actually brings up a great question. This is more applicable to real golf. And then when you're looking at the data, it can get confusing because people talk about ball flights and the height of the ball flight. People know how high Rory hits it, know how high Bryson DeChambeau can hit it. Jason Day, notoriously a high hitter of the golf ball. Then you get guys who kind of penetrate with their irons a little bit more. They have more low wind, averse ball flights and such. I try not to get too crazy with it in Florida, especially because for certain forced carries that you get, I was talking about the par 5 that wraps around the lake there. You have number 6, can be one of the easier golf holes on the golf course, but can also be very, very difficult if you leave yourself too far into that green. The further you take it out right, the longer it can play. So there's definitely some risk reward stuff where hitting it a little bit higher can benefit. I really try not to think about that too much in my process because it gets a little messy because every single one of these guys can hit it high or low on demand if they need to. It's just a question of what their preference is day in and day out.
Yeah. Again, I think that's really where we need to kind of work backwards in that sense, for lack of a better term. You kind of say, okay, this is what I'm anticipating. And then if we knew that was true, who would get the biggest bump? Who would get the biggest kind of knockdown? And that's how I'm going to approach it. Certainly when we start at the top, as we get into rank them now, these guys, they're impervious to a lot of this stuff. Like no matter how hard it is, if Rahm plays really well, he's probably going to be there. And there's just no denying that. But he does have massive competition. This is not like last week. These are big time names. So rank them for me. Jon Rahm, who leads us off, versus Rory, former winner at Bay Hill, versus Hovland, who to me clearly is the most dangerous of the three, but he's got all the talent in the world.
You think Hovland's the most dangerous of the three?
I mean, his around the green game is actually, I think of all the elite players, it might be the worst skill set that any of them have in any area. He loses off around the green basically every week. He's lost in 5 straight there. He masks it with great irons and sometimes really good putting. To me, that Hovland, though, if it is windy, if it is nasty, he could take himself right out of the tournament with his abilities around the green. That's
what I'm getting at and he gets the draw that you like, and Rory doesn't. And this is going to be a very difficult thing for me because Rory was, no question about it, the guy that I wanted to get to the most on this top end. And it's starting to turn into Jon Rahm. He's never played this golf tournament before. We have no sample size, but I've continually said it. His putter has not been what we've needed it to be in order for him to be successful in previous weeks. He's lost almost 2.5 strokes putting his last 2 events. At the Farmers around the green, he's terrible. The last 4 tournaments, he's been awful around the green, but he is just striping it. And so it's such a strange thing here at the top because he's garnering a little bit more attention than Rory. Rory's on the bad tee time draw out of the grouping, morning on Thursday, afternoon on Friday. But obviously there's a much larger sample size we have for him on this golf course. I'm inclined to call Rory and Jon Rahm 1A, 1B. I'm going to get to a lot more of them than Hovland. Hovland's a guy that, I didn't really like what we had seen early on from him, and it came back to life very quickly at the Genesis. But this is going to be a very different test, and I don't really like getting to a ton of Hovland here this week. It is going to discernibly be those top 2 guys that I get to.
Agree. It's not to say, again, when you're talking up here, everyone is in play. These are all the world's best. I like Rory the best of the 3. And this is just, he thrives here. Bermuda, Bay Hill, he tends to dominate courses that he tends to dominate. Quail Hollow, Bay Hill, like he plays good at the same places over and over. I don't think this is a huge deal, but I do find it kind of interesting that maybe he doesn't like it, or maybe it's just something in the schedule. Rahm really doesn't play that much in Florida so far. He's never played here. He's never played at Honda. He plays the Players, of course, and he played Valspar once. So he doesn't have as many reps down here, particularly at this course, I would assume. I don't think it's a major factor, but it's enough for me to go to Rory first, Rahm second, and then Hovland would be a distant third.
I don't think there's something about this Florida swing. There's certain players that just don't like playing places where you're going to get a lower winning score. John Rahm talks about wanting golf courses that are more difficult, but yet it seems like he's skipping on the most difficult tests that exist on the PGA Tour. So I find that to be a little bit ironic. But at the same time, everybody plays at TPC Sawgrass and looking forward to that one big time here. But this is a really good preamble for that. I like seeing that he added this to his schedule. He's the best player in the world, all things being equal. If the putter can flatten itself out or be a little bit positive, there's a massive amount of win potential there, which is why you're seeing him with the shortest odds. But that being said, I bet Rory at 11-1. I actually legitimately did that. And I can count on one hand the number of times I've bet somebody better than 16-1 to win a golf tournament. It is not very often, but I'm just convinced that this sets up really, really nicely for Rory.
I do too. The ownership checks out. They're about equal. So I'll take best available. I ask you this every week. Do you think that you can get two Rory Rahm teams together? No, I'm probably not going to do that very often. Are you thinking you can? I mean, there's some guys in this low 7K. There's some high variance dudes that we're going to talk about a little bit later. I think it's something you can entertain, but you're lumping a lot of ownership into that lineup together. I think that a lot of the primary builds where you're going to put those two together, they're going to look similar. If you could have gotten one of those guys under 11K, I mean, I know that Hideki's a guy you wrote up and saw that you were on board with in the betting markets. So I'm curious to see. I think being able to play one of those two alongside a Hideki or a Scheffler makes a little bit more sense to me. I'd agree. I think you can do it, and you will diffuse some ownership because even though they're really popular, them together is going to be really low owned. People aren't going to do that. It's not great.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It's really not great.
This is the hard-hitting analysis that certain people on Twitter are coming for in the DFS space.
That's why we're here. We're here for that. We are here to show a little skin. I may roll up the sleeves. That's what I do. You know what? FanVice After Dark. This could evolve. You never know. But I do think when I look at my lineups, Deki really does stand out. Yeah. He's a priority. It's where I want to go. He's in the next rankum with Scotty Scheffler versus Hideki, who I did bet at 25-1. I love that number. Versus Ty Hatton, who is one of the hardest guys to get right for me. He's been playing in Europe. He's been playing good. He had an amazing Florida swing. He loves it down here. Talk to me. How do you put him in when we just haven't seen him over here?
I think you got to like a little bit of Hatton. I'm not going to make him a major stand, but he's somebody that scores a little bit better than what you would expect to. He can pop putting. He is really good as an iron player, has some of the best sound bites. So strokes gained sound bites. He's going to be at the top of the list every single week. So he's an entertaining follow, and you feel a little less terrible as long as he's swearing up a storm on his way to a missed cut for you. But 9,300 for him. I'm all right trying to go to some Tyrrell Hatton. You brought it up. This is the Florida swing and in a spot where he's shown to kind of prove that he can really get there. Him, Paul Casey, two guys in this better tee time draw. I'm not going to try to refer to this all the time because, again, I'm just giving them a slight bump for everything, but I like seeing these Thursday tee times in the 9K range. I think that can be a little bit, I feel like there's a little extra security going their way, knowing that they won't have to play on Friday in 15 or 20 mile an hour winds.
Yeah, it makes sense. All the guys I like happen to be in the AM, so I'm sure they'll be faced with tornadoes on Friday afternoon. Deki is 7 for 7 here in cuts made. He's elite long iron player. He's already got a win earlier this year. Everything checks the box for why he can handle Bay Hill. Scheffler, I'm just kind of indifferent to. I don't love the price. I get why it's there, considering he broke through at Waste Management, followed up with a really good showing at Genesis. He's playing great. He's just probably going to be your first man in. And if I'm going to do that, give me $500 and I'll find Rory. Give me $300 back and I'll start with Deki. So he's in no man's land for me. Hideki is the priority.
Scotty Scheffler played really well coming off of that win at the Waste Management. And it's a guy that coming out of the Korn Ferry Tour was very high on. That's proven to work out. I try to make one or two guys from the Korn Ferry Tour a thing going forward. But Scotty Scheffler was dominating at that level. And now he's coming out and showing kind of the mettle. I might have a little bit more interest in him than you do. We already used him in our one and done. So that's off the board. So I don't have to think about it in that term. So I can't get exposure there. The betting markets are pretty sharp on it. I don't really want to be going there in his direction either. So DFS is really the only spot to get exposure to a guy that I think has potential in any place he tees it up at to be very live to win the golf tournament. So I think Scotty Scheffler, not a write-off. I'm not going to be going well above 16% or anything like that, but 20-ish% in a large field tournament. He's just a little bit of a way to get different from the Rahm McIlroy builds. I think a lot of them that I don't have him, I'm probably going to be starting with Scheffler because I'm just not really there on Hovland. I know the Hideki number was good for you, but he can be the ball striker that you need. And coming off of a W in Hawaii, not that this is a identical fit whatsoever. It's a completely different golf course. Water's a little bit more live here as well. But I'm more inclined Hideki in a stronger field, just not going that direction.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're still firmly in the range. Every one of these golfers, their A game is good enough to blow any field away. These guys know what they're doing. You can get two if you want. You're going to have to dip into the sixes. But to me, it's still a pretty good win equity range. And I'm going to try to make it a priority to get someone north of 10 on the majority of my lineups. If you don't do that, let's talk about some of these guys in the 9K range that the markets really like in the outrights. Will Z, Fitzy, whose number I cannot believe was sitting in the 20s, around 20-1 for a guy that's never won on tour. And then your boy, Sam Burns, who so far, it's a long season, but so far he has struggled a little bit. He is on Bermuda. He's an LSU guy. He loves Bermuda. Do you see yourself paying down for him, or do you go to Fitzy, who's going to be very popular, or Will Z, who is striking it just as good as anyone in the world right now?
If you group by Bermuda surfaces, do you know who 1, 2, 3 are in terms of DK points over the course of the last year in this field?
Lahiri.
Scotty Scheffler is number 1.
That was
Matthew Fitzpatrick is number 2, and Sam Burns is number 3. We all know Sam Burns, how much I love him. Matthew Fitzpatrick was an auto play for me this week. Plus 200, plus 240 was a number you could get for a top 10. Snagged that one on Sunday. That was enjoyable. It's down to around plus 200 here, and that's going to be where it stays. He's coming off of 3 straight top 10s at this event. You talk about different strokes for different folks, and this is just a different kind of way to play golf, the Matthew Fitzpatrick way. Not crazy in terms of the irons, even on this surface and just grouping by Bermuda, but this is a golf course he's obviously comfortable with. We didn't get to see him at Riv. He ends up withdrawing, and I was ready to pull the trigger there. He's had 2 top 10s to start off his 2022. I don't know how you don't love him on the surface and kind of maybe not to win, but a top 5, top 10. I'm betting him across the board here. He is in DFS going to be a guy who's showing up in a ton of my lineups at 9,200, probably my favorite play, period. So I'm interested, as you said, you can't believe the number. I totally, based on what I'm seeing on this surface in Florida, knowing how good the form's been outside of getting sick there for a week, I think all systems are go for him.
I'm not saying he doesn't check every box. It's just the guy's never won on the PGA Tour, and this is a strong field. He has played this event many, many times, and he has gained strokes putting. He has played this event 7 times. He's gained strokes putting all 7 years. He clearly loves Bermuda. He's been the runner-up here. He's got 2 straight top 10s. Everything checks out. He's going to be very popular. I'm going to use him. I did not bet him only because I couldn't find a good enough number.
That's fair.
I get it. I get that. I get Will Z. You don't want to start pairing these guys up with other chalk plays like Paul Casey and whatnot. That's dangerous. You're going to have to leverage somewhere. But on the surface, they all make a lot of sense, and it's a very popular range. I think the standard build is going to be one of Rory and Rahm, and then one of these type of guys. I think that's the pretty generic. Not generic is Watney win Bulls championship parlay. That's retirement mode. If you hit that, you can permanently retire.
Yeah, congratulations on your $1 to win 150K on. That'll be a fun screenshot.
Yeah, that you'll go in the Hall of. We'll make you. You will get your own Hall of Fame. We will do it on every single show. If you hit that. Last guy, I know he's not in the Rankum, but I'm just going to throw a little curveball. What about Adam Scott, flat 9? Just give me an elevator pitch on him.
Yes, we play Adam Scott when he's
okay.
Surfing. Like, that's what we do. It was nice to see. He always plays well.
What have you done? Well, I hear you, but I don't really hear you. And we had a rowdy chat, and now Eric has left me.
Oh man, hang on one second. Let me come back.
I hear you.
You're can hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Lahiri? Anirban Lahiri?
No, it's good. You didn't leave long enough. Sometimes when my co-hosts leave, I disparage them to chat, and then they'll never know. But that didn't have to happen. You're all good. Finish your thought on Adam Scott.
I'll figure out what's going on with the internet here, because I mean I'm plugged in, and all the things should be fine in the world. But I was just talking about Adam Scott, and he always plays well at Riv, so we don't ever want to like go crazy with that. He gained 7.2 strokes gained putting. That is just outrageous. This new putter, maybe it's a thing for him going forward. So I'm okay firing up a little bit here. The ball striking is generally where you see it for him, gaining 5.9 with the irons. He's had some massive 4-5 strokes gained. That's how you make a lot of birdies, by the way, everybody. You hit the ball closer to the hole. That is going to work anywhere. And Adam Scott been gaining across the board off the tee again. So nice to be seeing him regain that form after running away with it a little bit earlier here. I'm looking just kind of at a round by round breakdown here. I'm fine to be firing him up here. Strokes gain approach. Yeah, just give me a little bit of Adam Scott.
Yeah, I'm fine. 13% projected ownership. And if you're wondering where we get that, again, that's part of our package. You know, the major season's coming up, players, all that stuff. You can get inside the ropes, awesemo.com/join. PGA packages, all platinum packages, all that stuff. Very worthwhile. The tools that me and Eric reference, definitely part of that. And you get Discord, which you can't put a price on. But let's keep going. We're getting into the mid-range. International Rankum, Paul Casey, Sergio, Fleetwood. These guys all have experience. They're all a little dangerous at the same time, though. They're going to be, they could be your third, fourth man in a balanced lineup. They're hovering around flat 8K, give or take. How do you sort this range out? Paul Casey seems like he's underpriced.
Paul Casey is very underpriced. If you're playing cash, first of all, congratulations. You're a braver soul than me, but 8,300 would be like a first click. You said long irons. Yes, we're going to go to Paul Casey. I really liked him to start off this season as somebody that could definitely kind of outplay the way that he finished out his tail end of 2021. Somebody that I wanted to invest in early. 15th at the Genesis. Nice to have all of this Saudi stuff behind him as well. I think it's going to be systems go here for Paul Casey. Florida, anywhere, I'll play Paul Casey on a spot where you're going to have 2 par 3s that play over 220, number of long irons into holes. He's just the primary candidate you need to click on. Even under 20%, he should be higher owned than that.
I'd agree. It's just, this is like Paul Casey major price. And it's just, he's such a good equity in terms of cuts made in an invitation like this. It's a pretty easy field. Yeah, his putter is broken, but his ball striking is just better than most of this range. People are going to play him in cash. That's obvious. I think you can easily just slide him into most type of lineups. You don't need to get crazy with him. I'm not saying lock him, but I feel pretty comfortable with him. Fleetwood, I'll be honest, I have no feel. He did the classic. He took himself out of it, and then he birdied 18 for no reason to miss on the number. I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm kind of looking to cancel. I did click him, and I feel okay with it because he's sub 10% right now. And I do think he's got some upside, and the price is good. But there's no doubt that Tommy Fleetwood, I think, has taken a step back from the expectations, which was, this guy's going to be winning majors and contending week in and week out.
he plays so well on more difficult tracks. It's just kind of been what he's done in the past in some of these places. A little bit more of a track record than one Garrick Higo or something in terms of talking about difficulty of golf courses. I always think of that 63 shot at the US Open. It's one of the dumbest rounds ever compared to a field. He can do that, but it's been a while, and it's been tough sledding if you've been rostering him, expecting him to kind of rebound. There might be some shots I take on him in large field stuff. He will not get close to sniffing a 3 max, 20 max for me. It's just going to be very, very hard to click on that. I think with Jason Day off the board now, it's going to become a little bit more Maverick McNeely, but he's very popular as it is. I'm actually inclined to be going to Justin Rose at 7,700 a little further down. So when we get to that, we can fire up that conversation too.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick case for Sergio.
Okay.
He's the same price as Keith Mitchell. Obviously, Keith Mitchell is playing out of his mind. We have Keith Mitchell projected as the highest owned player on the week. If Keith Mitchell beats me, I'm going to have to live with it. He's playing fantastic. I'm not playing Keith Mitchell at that ownership. There's just other guys that I would rather play, Sergio being one of them. He's a great driver of the ball. The putter is broken. I can live with that. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm just not going to play Keith Mitchell. It's a stand I'm making. It's not because I think he's going to play horrible. I think I can survive it. And if I do, I'm going to have a lot more shares of guys around him that I think have some upside.
Yeah. What's going on with this?
He's playing amazing.
I know it's, I love Keith Mitchell. I feel like that's a guy that I've made a thing. All of these these Sea Island guys, like I legitimately love rostering these Bulldogs and making them things, but 3 top 12s. You definitely probably needed to have him at 7,500 at the Phoenix, but you could have survived Honda at 9,100. He's 8,100 here. Different kind of field. It just isn't a spot where I think he should be the highest owned golfer on the slate. I think we can probably all agree on that's a little jarring. So, yeah, I'm with you. He is a guy that I am looking to fade a little bit, even though I know that this is, this Florida swing and anything near Georgia, Bermuda, you could be running into a buzzsaw if the putter is right.
And the putter too. So Keith Mitchell, there's some very disturbing stats when I look at things. At API, he's played it 3 times. He's gained strokes putting in all 3. He gained 6 strokes putting in 2020. At Honda, he's played it a handful of times, 5 times. He's gained strokes putting in all 5. Same thing. Then he played at Valspar once. He lost 12 strokes putting. I don't know how that's possible. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to point that out. But he's just putting tremendous strain on his putter. He gained 4.7 strokes putting last week. He struck it nicely. I'm not taking that away from him. The ownership right there, I think there's enough in the mid-range where I can get away. If I was building more teams, I've actually really concentrated this week on playing some different tournaments, a little higher stakes things and less entries. If I was playing 100 lineups, I would have some Keith Mitchell teams. There's no doubt. I'd be under the 22%. I would have some exposure, but I'm taking stands, single entry, 3 max. You will not see Keith Mitchell on my lineups this week.
Ooh, look at you. That's a full fade. I didn't
that
hit
type
the
of stuff,
full fade button. Yeah, it makes sense.
If I'm going to do it, I might as well. I don't see the point of, if you play him in those, you're taking 33 and a third right there and you're canceling. So
it's fair. Yeah. I think you're bringing up great points for all of it. I mean, Keith Mitchell is a guy that I traditionally like to play in these spots, but now the field does too. And that's a problem. There's a lot more volatility. This 12th, 10th, and 9th that we've seen out of him, there's no doubt that it has been fantastic to be rostering him in the early going, but there's a lot more bust potential on the other side of it now that there is ownership there where there wasn't before. So I'm with you. I think kind of jumping ship now makes sense.
Yeah, but listen, you're going to get burned by doing that at times, and you're going to pick up major equity if you get it right. I like to roll the dice, especially in Florida. There's a lot of water. Mm-hmm. This is an easier cut to make, so it's not as lucrative, but still. All right, let's work down to that next range. And while we do that, I will say, again, the chat is very lively tonight. We got some newcomers, oldcomers, all sorts of people in there. It makes the show fun. If you want to support us, the easiest way to do it is to hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, just press subscribe. You will be part of the 75,000 person community that we have built here. And that's just here. We've got the OddsChecker YouTube as well. You can always go check that out. But let's work down to the mid-range. The mid-sevens have some fascinating names. They've got Justin Rose, who you said that you are kind of interested in. Corey Connors is low-key struggling. He's missed a handful of cuts recently. And then we have Matthew Wolff, who is as bad as anyone can be playing coming into this, but we also know he's kind of random in how he plays well. Rank him for me.
Oh, God. So Justin Rose, he has been very feast or famine in a lot of spots for this golf course. We've seen some thirds, some ninths, some seconds, and we've seen that a lot from Justin Rose because Justin Rose goes through these peaks of form where it's just like he's one of the better players that exists. And now you're getting him at 7,700 in this range around Seamus Power, around Corey Connors, who, you talked about has been struggling here. Pebble Beach is just a complete write-off for me, but seeing that sixth at Farmers, it was good to see him start to figure out some iron play. Again, it disappeared at Pebble, lost 5.6 strokes there, but gained 5.4 there at the Farmers. When Justin Rose is a guy that you need in your lineups, he's gaining 4 or 5 with the irons, and it comes and goes. There's no doubt about it, but it just seems like you're just getting a little bit of that discount where he's sub 15%. I know the Top Golfers tool does not love him. It's become a big part of my process is not playing too many of these guys with a lot of negative leverage. Only has a top 6 percentage around 7.8%. But I think just out of this 7K range, if you were just like, here is blindly $50 and you need to bet on one of these guys to go out and win a golf tournament, I think he's probably the guy that I would be betting on in this entire range.
So I think that Justin Rose, it's a range that's full of volatility. There's no doubt. And not that Justin Rose has been playing rock solid by any stretch, but his putter is always very strong. He knows what he's doing. He's got a decade plus of experience here, most of it positive, particularly tee to green. I think he's fine. I'm pretty comfortable with him, but it's more a product of if you're not going to him, where are you going? I think that
exactly
Chris Kirk and Cameron Young are playing the best. They check the most boxes, but talent-wise, I mean, Cameron Young just might be amazing. We don't really know. Other than that, Corey Connors, I'm a little concerned. I think he's still playable, but his around the green game is extremely weak. He's lost in 2 straight with the irons. That is something that we had not seen him do, basically dating back to 2018 to lose 2 straight events on the approach. So that's kind of concerning. And then Wolff, I'm still an advocate that you could probably blindly bet Matthew Wolff all year and you'll be profitable because I think he'll win at some point. But when he doesn't win, as you saw, he was 17 over last week. He's probably got the highest dead for last equity of anyone in the range. So that's buyer beware indefinitely.
Yes, sir. It's fun to make a case for a number of these guys. I think security wise, there's just not a lot to be had at 7K. I think that's kind of what it comes down to. There's really no security here whatsoever.
I got one guy. It's going to be my hot take, though. So we're going to
save it. Sepp Straka back-to-back.
Sepp Straka is not going back. There's a better chance that they take away his first win than he wins here. He's not winning.
That was really mean. By the way, lock in that ticket.
I'm just a little salty that I have backed Bernd Wiesberger and Matthias Schwab for decades, it feels like, and then Sepp Straka, the other Austrian guy, takes it down. But such is life. Credit to him.
Shout out Sound of Music.
Shout out Sound of Music. There we go. All right, one last rank 'em. Then we'll get to some of these guys that we missed. We'll go rapid fire. We'll talk about our betting cards, lineup construction. Let's talk about some of the cheapies. Sebastian Munoz playing out of his mind, ball striking wise, couldn't put it together with the putter. Aaron Wise had a 9-footer to make the cut. Naturally, he didn't make the cut. Ricky, he did make the cut for a change. I don't know how many water balls he had. It had to be at least 3 or 4 at Honda. He lost 5 strokes with the approach, gained 5 strokes with the putter. Rank him for me in that 6-ish, 7K-ish range.
Oh, baby. Just so gross. I'm going to probably say Sebastian Munoz. If we're going to see it play a little bit windier and have it be something where I'm going to maybe upgrade a little bit more of the ball striking and around the green game. He's been positive around the green in 4 of 6. That's a plus. He seems to be a pretty crafty guy when it comes to, chipping and putting. We saw that going back to last year in a number of spots. We saw John Deere top 5, Charles Schwab top 3. He's one of those guys that on these trickier little spots, he can play a number of different venues well, is kind of what I'm seeing. The putter is god awful, and there's really no words for it. But on super fast lightning greens like this, sometimes, and I've brought this up before, and it's just one of those things that I try to factor in. I think sometimes it can help out a lot for a bad putter to get on these type of surfaces that can be perfect in a lot of rights and be as fast as what they can be, simply because he doesn't have to try to help it to get online. You're not necessarily in a grainier Bermuda spot here at Bay Hill. It seems like it's just one of the pure surfaces you're going to find here. So I think Sebastian Munoz and his ball striking, his ability to also kind of combine that with decent around the green game, makes for an interesting combination that I think I'm not really willing to not have exposure to this week.
I like Munoz. That ball striking has, it pulled me in. I think that the numbers with the putter certainly leave some to be desired, but he can flip. If he has a surface, it's definitely Bermuda. So I'll take my shot there. And there's other flyers in this range. You've got Peters is there. Denny McCarthy, who I am going to back again because he gains 5 to 7 strokes putting every week. I don't mind it. Talk to me before we move on here about Theegala.
My boy, I feel good because this is nice, because there's times when you're just like, I feel weird saying that he's going to be one of the better players on tour going forward, but that's a stand that I was just firmly for, because if you can succeed and dominate in Southern California in amateur golf, and if you're going to be at Pepperdine, the #1 college team in the country, and you're going to be dominating some golf tournaments against the up and coming generation, you're probably going to pop on the PGA Tour. That just seems to be something that happens time and time again. It just does. When you're elite there, you turn that into being elite on the PGA Tour. And, that third at Phoenix Open, I'm always worried now, because it's like he's not going to get completely overlooked here. He's got a 7K number next to him, but I'm willing to be firing him up again here, just because he does a little bit of everything well. It looks like the chipping can be off from time to time here in the early going of his professional career. But if you go back to the tail end of 2021, he was gaining 4.8, 3.1 strokes around the green. Sanderson Farms, the first time that he really popped on the PGA Tour. I see him being a guy who's going to gain more and more in terms of ball striking as it goes. And his short game is just elite. So Theegala is going to be a guy to definitely fire up again. I'm not on him. I'll be honest. That's fair. I just don't like to play guys that I've never seen in a given area. Like, he's a California guy and he has not played in these type of situations. He's got the talent and he might be amazing. There's no chance that I get to him. Too many guys I'd rather play in the same range. He's not like in the, low sixes anymore. So just no room for him. Okay. We did get a super chat, and it's a very good question. Because this is an invitational and more people make the cut in terms of the percentage of the field that make the cut, how do you feel about Stars and Scrubs 3 over 9K? I feel good about it. I think you can rev it up a little bit. It doesn't mean just start playing these made up guys at the low sixes, but I definitely think that you can embrace that, because everyone has a better shot to find the weekend. Yeah. Don't play Peter Malnati. Don't play Charles Schwartzel. He's broken now again. We can't go back to that. Don't play Trey Mullinax, as much of a good story as he would be. I'm playing Trey Mullinax. No joke. Of course you are. I said that. Why? In a chat no more than an hour ago. And then I gave an interesting. Happy Gilmore accomplished that feat no more than an hour ago. Yeah, well, good for Ben and Rasa. Oh my God. That's the real rule. Trey Mullinax, if it plays somewhat easy or slightly easier, he can score like a banshee. He made the cut at Honda. I'm okay with that. He's virtually automatic. Give me Doug Gim. Give me Doug Gim. 6,300. I'll play some Doug Gim in the Stars and Scrubs game. I'll play him. Charles Howell is a 6,400, sub 4 or 5%. Something tells me that he might be a guy that people click on a little bit more as you go up in stakes. He feels like maybe the security blanket of the sub 6,500 range. I get worried about that. So yeah, I'm going to go to more Aaron Rye. You heard it. Yeah, we're going to do this all over again. Aaron Rye is fine. Pendrith is solid. Talk to me about, we got a couple people, and I'm not on this guy. Not that I'm vehemently opposed. Did Patton Kazire catch your eye at all? He did. He's sub 5% in our ownership projections. Talk to me about him before we go to the betting card. Okay, Pat Kazire, one of the Long Island guys. Like that's really what it comes down. To. Like you just absolutely need. You just need to have some exposure to some of these specialists that come from this region. And I think 6,500 for him here. In terms of DK scoring, nothing's been crazy impressive and nothing's really going to pop. But if you're trying to make a case for somebody, this is going to be more of his preferred surface. He plays on this stuff routinely in Sea Island. So Patton Kizzire, I'm fine taking that bullet. You got to find cases for some of them. And there's at least a case to be made for him, as opposed to what else is in that range. There's just not much. I think it's a spot where, if you want to force the stars and scrubs, you could fire up Hostler again. I'm going to do that. That should go without saying here at this point. Yeah. And he's just playing better. He's going to be a better player going forward as well. But for the most part, there's no opportunity cost. Like, you can play whoever you want so long as you make the case. And I definitely, if you told me Patton Kizzire top 10, I wouldn't be completely floored here.
Betting card over on OddsChecker. We've talked a lot about this. Videos are up. If you want more golf, we do a first look every Monday. Me and Eitan Shander, very relaxing 30-minute build our betting cards. Really fun show. I'd encourage people to check it out in the future. Deki 25-1 on the card. Sergio top 20 on my card. I just want to make sure I get the right number for people. Let's see. Sergio top 20. Let's see what I
always list off what I have for numbers, but that really does nobody any good. It's like, if you're going to bet the things that I like, you're going to have to bet them at the lines they're at now. So, and
that's why you truly do want to go to the OddsChecker YouTube early in the week and catch these things, because these lines do move. Basically, though, for me, I'm going to take some shots in that next range. If Rory or Rahm win, which is very possible, good game. Let's go shake their hands. Mighty Ducks 2 reference there. We got to move on with our lives. Deki, Sergio. I might do something Paul Casey-esque. What is on your betting card? Anything you want to shout out?
I woke up and the pain was gone.
Adam Banks, your boy. Scotty
Scheffler, top 10, 175. Again, I'm stacking up some of these things that I'm seeing for Bermuda surfaces, getting back here with some guys with great form. Him and Matthew Fitzpatrick, it's now plus 200 would be the number for top 10s. Those would be great ads. I've never really bet a Rory McIlroy, but 10-1, don't bet him there now. If you could have gotten 11 or 14 or whatever that stupid number was I saw earlier from somebody at some random bookie, that made me mad that I couldn't get that, because that would be a time to bet some Rory in your life. But don't bet him at 10-1. Looking at 50-1 Sam Burns, that's like an auto bet for me. I don't really know what to say other than he's been putrid, awful, no good, very bad. And now we're hoping that he gets back on Bermuda and can get his life back on track here. 3.5 so plus 350 for a top 10, adding that to the card. And then 60-1 Justin Rose. This is just like a gut play with this guy. I don't know what it is. Looking at this, he's had some success here in the past. I really liked what I saw out of him getting back in the hunt there at the Farmers. I think, some of these golf courses that he's played 50 million times, if we can see those irons get back to where it was there at the Farmers, he could be really dangerous this week.
Yeah, again, I think this, even though it's a strong field, I'm not saying start betting like 300-1 guys. You could do that over in the Safari Tour or whatever. But I do think that mid-range, some of these guys with experience, Justin Rose is an interesting name like that. A couple of things from chat, then we'll build our lineup. Jay Lizzie took down the smaller mini max last week. I want to say thank to the whole crew. Everyone in that list is a fantastic golf analyst, whether they're here or just on the Twitter world. All worked with all those guys, really good people there. Mike H, another good person. Thank you for the great golf content. No problem, man. Thanks for tuning in. Loyal listener as well. All right.
Hey, Ben, rank those guys. How about that?
Yeah, on that list.
My one rank 'em question to ask you there.
I'm going to get Tim Frank back on a show with us.
Okay. That sounds
Tim
fun.
Frank, a great human being.
Sounds great.
Who grinds the Top Shot streets now. Anyway, here we go. Aaron Wise, ? I think he's worth a flyer. I wouldn't go beyond that though. I don't really see the need to. Kind of same thing as Matt Wallace. Any Matt Wallace takes?
Matt Wallace, he gets very mad. He's from England. He is a person who has popped at San Antonio. He played well last year. He's been in the hunt. There's bits of form there. I can't go crazy with it.
DK and member for 4 months, Team Awesemo. What's up, Nick? DKSC, 4K field. What's our strategy? So I still think you're taking a large field tournament mentality. It's not like you're going to ISO a guy there or anything like that. There's going to be 6 of 6s. So it's just really build a quality lineup. You're going to want some leverage. If you are behind the ropes, I would check out our top golfers tool, things of that Build if you want to do a conservative, I'd build a cash lineup and 2v2 it. If you want to up the variance, 3v3 it. I do that a lot when I'm playing in those like 3 to 5K entry fields.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Ben. The Top Golfers tool, find synergy. Out the optimal build. Find the guys that you cannot live your life without, even if they're popular. Play 4 of them. Head over to the Top Golfers tool. You've got some massive leverage. I mean, I love seeing Pat Gazire. Another reason that we should be playing a little bit of him. 3.1% leverage between what his ownership is, 2.3%, and his top 6 percentage, which is just basically what are the amount of times where he's going to finish out optimal. And we're looking at 3, it's not substantial, but it 3.1% is one of the most leveraged golfers to get to. Finding a way to get onto him off of some chalkier options like a Charles Howell in that range or something like that can go a long way when you're playing just even a 4,000 person field.
Well said. Lineup time. You ready to do this?
Let's go, my friend.
I will say very quickly, I want to point this out. And I talked about Keith Mitchell being a definite fade for me. Keith Mitchell on Yahoo is $25. At that price, I think you have to just do it. That's too ridiculous. And it just shows one of the many reasons you want to get over there as well. You can just pick up guys near the min. It's just crazy. But lead us off here with your lineup. We'll build one and then we'll give some hot takes. So where would you like to go? You want to start with one of the big guns?
Yeah, let's big gun it and work our way down and kind of isolate where we want to go. Let's start big gun Rory. We both like Rory. I'll click Rory first.
All right, so we're starting this lineup with Rory McIlroy. Of course, we've only got one name, so we can really do whatever we want here. I'm going to keep it very, very generic. You put in Rory. I'm going to put in Paul Casey. I think that's very, very simple start. We can do plenty with him. Rory Casey, 4 spots left. Should be no problem. We can go a lot of different directions.
Yeah, let's kind of dip into the 8K range here. I think, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to the 7K range. I want to click on Justin Rose. I don't think that's a guy that you necessarily want to be going towards.
With that, though.
You're okay with Justin Rose? All right. This is just my conviction play of the week. And I don't have many of these where it's just like, I have this feeling that it's Justin Rose this week. He's going to be the guy you want to overinvest in. It's just setting up for whatever reason in my mind that everything I'm looking at just tells me to play more of him. So Justin Rose, click.
I'm going to keep peppering the same range and kind of go hybrid balance, as I like to call this, because we have a guy north of 11. I'm going to put in Sergio for the same reasons. Again, experience, off the tee automatic, knows what he's doing. If he can just hold on with his short game, I think he could be very effective. And we're building certainly an experience lineup. Like if we get course history for the last 15 years, we're going to win because Casey, Rose, and Sergio have played this course a bajillion times.
Yeah, we just rounded out with Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood, and we have a Ryder Cup team. This is perfect.
Oh yeah, we're going all internationals.
Yeah, well, we're literally just building the European Ryder Cup team.
Oh, they always win. All right, so 2 spots left, 7,400. What do you want to do?
Last time. Let's go. I want to do Thigala because it's there. I'm going to go back to Ian Poulter. It's brutal, but he plays in Florida. I mean, all these Jupiter Florida guys, he's just somebody, he ended up finishing 30th, nothing pretty, did not burn me. But it was nice to actually see him play some golf and see him be competent there. Avoided the double bogeys, which was really nice to kind of see at the Honda. Tough thing to be able to pull off and do. Still made 18 bogeys. So there's that, 1/4 of his golf holes. So Ian Poulter, we didn't talk about him, but a guy that I definitely want to be over the field on, and the leverage to get in the old Top Golfers tool.
So we've got Ian Poulter, we've got Rory, we've got Casey, we've got Rose, we've got Sergio, and now we've got one other spot. 7,600. There's actually a couple spots that you could go here. You could go to Connors, Chris Kirk, Cameron Young. I think those are all fine. But you know what I'm going to do?
You're going to play Matt Wolff.
I'm going to combine my hot take with this lineup. So the guy that I didn't bring up before.
You're going to play Matt Wolff. You're going to play Matt Wolff.
No, I'm not going to play Matt Wolff. This is a guy who, I mean, he's as tilting as Matt Wolff. 16-1 for a top 5. $7,400. No, it's not Patrick.
Eric Van Rooyen.
EVR. EVR is quietly putting it together here. And I think this is a pretty good course for him. 39th at Genesis. He was really good in Dubai, came in 4th, 12th at Abu Dhabi, 20th at Sony, making cuts, really good driver of the ball. I don't see why this course would cause him problems in the sense that if he's playing well, I think it's a good fit for him. Now, will he play well? Who knows? It's EVR. 16-1 though. This guy can get in the mix. He knows what he's doing. He competed during the FedEx Cup in very, very strong fields. He's got a top 5 at a WGC. I think that he is a pretty sneaky guy. He was 57th in his lone appearance here. EVR to round out this lineup.
Shout out Golden Gophers. Rah, rah for Sky Yuma. There you go.
They're playing tonight. I hope Maryland beats them by like 200 because I kind of like that. But yeah, there we have it.
Love it. Here's the thing. There's some massive positive leverage. We didn't have to play anybody that feels super uncomfortable on that card. Even EVR. I love that call and shout out. It's a guy that I'm definitely on as well. Ian Poulter, I probably should have talked about him more than I did, but I'm always going to play him in Florida. So that should just be a foregone conclusion as well.
Comment from chat from Slim Brody. I hate EVR. I never get that right. When I play him, he's legit +7 after round 1. I can confirm that is true. I've been there, my friend. We may be there tomorrow, but
but then he wins in Tahoe when nobody can roster him. So that's at least you have that going for you.
Is I think a really good large field tournament play this week. I'm definitely gonna certainly be over, and he's gonna be in some important things for me. I've given my hot take. We've got about a minute left. The floor is yours.
Oh no.
Yes, this was a very gutless Euro squad. That is true. What are you doing? Where's your hot take going? Because your hot takes are wild. We don't know what you're going to pull out here.
I've had some really good hot takes. Come on now.
But you also have hot takes where it's like, this guy's going to throw a club in the water. And it's like, oh, I didn't think you were going there.
That was one time.
Or like, this guy's going to get in a fight with his caddy. I think you had that as a hot take.
I did have that as a hot take, but also you understand. No, I just said that there's certain guys that have tempers that are funny. That's actually what I said about Matt Wallace one time, is that I thought he was going to kill his caddy. That's a take that I actually had one time.
Danger zone. Where are you going for this tournament?
All right. Well, I mean, we'll just kind of take it back here. I think Sepp Straka goes back-to-back top 10s. I'm not saying he wins the golf tournament. No, okay. Sepp Straka. And again, this is just one of those things where he doesn't feel like the type of dude. And it's the same kind of disposition you have from a guy like Scotty Scheffler, where I just don't think a whole lot affects him. And coming off of a 15th at Genesis, 16th at the Farmers, 1st at Honda, it's a guy that I think we just fire and go right back to. Sometimes people are a little bit, I can't really play this guy. He didn't have to travel very far to go over to Bay Hill. He gets an opportunity to know he's secure for his card for 2 years, and he's playing the best golf of his life. I think these are only positive things. Like if he was going across the country now to go travel, or maybe if we had seen him chugging beer on Instagram, it'd be one thing, but he does not seem like that kind of a dude. I think Sepp Straka is just an absolute fantastic play for a second straight week.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I think it's first of all, a very solid hot take. You're getting about 8.5 to 1. It strikes the perfect balance between possible and dangerously insane, which is what we try to do on the show. And he's a middle ground guy like Luke List to me, where I think it could go either way. Career defining, maybe. Maybe this guy's just ready to play and he knows what he's doing and he comes back even stronger. Sepp Straka's got talent. There's no
better
doubt.
Than Schwabi.
Let's not get crazy here. But on that note, and I like Sepp Straka. I was actually really happy to see him win. On that note, for me, for Eric, for Tyler, for everyone in chat, hit 100 likes on the nose. We appreciate you guys each and every week. You know what next week is?
Bet it's the Players.
It is the Players.
Let's go.
5th major, 8th major, the most important field. It doesn't really matter. It's a big time golf tournament with super big prize pools. We will have you covered. For me, Eric, and Tyler, we will be back and better than ever. If you have any questions, hit us up, JazzRazDFS at Eric Lindquist. Good luck this week. Hope to see some guys, some familiar faces at the top of the leaderboards. And we will be back next week talking all things Players Championship. We'll talk to you guys then.